Santa Claus, an I Can Read by Myself book by Chex Publishing. It was Christmas Eve. At the North Pole, where Santa Claus lives, everyone was very busy. For weeks, the elves had been hard at work. They had made and wrapped up hundreds of presents for Santa to deliver. There were presents everywhere, of all shapes and sizes. Each was wrapped in bright paper. It was a wonderful sight. Outside, Santa's sleigh was almost ready for his journey around the world. The elves had given it a new coat of paint, and it shone in the winter sunshine. In the stables were 6 fine reindeer. They had all had their coats washed and brushed. Even their antlers had been polished, ready for the great ride through the night. At last it was time to load the presents onto the sleigh. The elves worked hard all afternoon until the sleigh was piled high. It was so full of presents that there was barely room enough for Santa to sit. The reindeer were brought out, and one by one they were tied to the front of the sleigh. The bells on their bridles jingled merrily. Finally, Santa Claus arrived. He was dressed in red. "Well done, my friends," he said. "Everything looks splendid." He patted each of the reindeer. Then he sprinkled them with magic dust so that they could fly. "Away we go!" he cried. The sleigh began to rise slowly into the dark night air. They hadn't gone far when it began to snow. The snow got thicker and thicker. Soon they could hardly see where they were going. "That looks like a rooftop down there," cried Santa, peering through the swirling snow. The reindeer flew downward and landed with a bump. They hadn't landed on a rooftop. They had landed in a huge snowdrift. "That's not a very good start," said Santa as he brushed the snow from his jacket. "We'll have to be more careful." He picked up some presents that had fallen out of the sleigh. They set off once more. It was still snowing very hard. Finally, Santa had to admit that they were lost. "We'll never deliver these presents on time," he sighed. They saw a wise old owl sitting in a tree. The owl blinked in surprise when he saw the sleigh, but he was able to tell Santa the way to the nearest town. "At last!" cried Santa as the rows of rooftops came into view. "Now we can make a start." The reindeer landed softly on the first rooftop, and Santa climbed down the chimney with his sack of presents. He landed in the fireplace and then wished he hadn't. Someone had left a bunch of holly there. He jumped up with it sticking to his bottom. "I wish people would be more careful," he said, pulling the holly out. "It would be so much easier if I could come through the front door like everyone else." Santa worked all through the night, going up and down chimneys in all shapes and sizes. Once he got stuck. When he came out at the bottom, his clothes were covered with soot. "And they were clean this morning," he sighed. In another house he nearly burned his beard when he found the ashes of a fire still hot. "Some people do make my job more difficult," he said. "Still, there aren't many more houses to go." He came to the very last house. There he found some cake and a glass of milk waiting for him. "How nice," he said. "Just what I need before I go home." He sat down in a chair and started to eat the cake. The house was warm and Santa was very tired. It wasn't long before he was fast asleep. Up on the roof, the reindeer began to get worried. Santa had been gone a long time, and soon it would start to get light. They peered through the windows and tapped on the glass until Santa woke up. "Thank you, my friends," he said. "I must have fallen asleep." He climbed into the sleigh, and then they set off for home. Without the presents on board, the sleigh was much lighter. They headed quickly back toward the snowy lands of the north. They arrived safely home just as the dawn was breaking. "Well done, all of you," said Santa. He led the reindeer back to the stables. "I think we all need some sleep." Santa awoke later that morning feeling much better. He remembered it was Christmas Day. He smiled as he thought of everyone waking up all over the world and opening their presents. He looked at the foot of his bed and saw a stocking filled with presents for himself. "Well, imagine that," he said. "Who could have given me these? Merry Christmas, everyone."